All right, Coach Nickerson, Northern Colorado Bears. Man, thanks for having me out. I appreciate it. Listen, I've been to Ithaca. I've had the pleasure of going to Stanford. So I know, Coach Cole's been behind this camera, Grabe's been behind this camera, and now I want to ask you, what's the difference between Cornell, Stanford, and here?
Not much, to be honest. I think when you look at any institution, any wrestling program, wrestling's a very simple sport. What separates institutions, I really believe, is just the people, right? And that's one thing that I was excited about coming here and trying to build something from the ground up, and just being able to cultivate the people that it takes to be successful. Again, everybody says the old adage, right? It takes an army. It really does, to build any successful athletics program. And, that's been the challenge the past 8 years here. And, we're trying to turn this into, what I was able to do as an athlete at Cornell. And again, that's why I took the job. I really appreciated my time at a place like Cornell where we kind of built something, not out of nothing, but we took it a long ways.
Yep.
And, that's why I'm here.
You're going to bring that experience here, but what stamp are you going to put on this program that's going to be different than what we see at some of those other programs that you kind of were born from?
Yeah, no, I think there's not a ton. Obviously you have a certain fit, right? A certain type of individual that's going to seek this area, this location, the certain majors that we have on campus, maybe the smaller type of school. We're not a small school, we're not a big school, we're kind of right in the middle, right? Just right. So I think it's just finding that atmosphere that fits for somebody. And again, the biggest thing we've been looking for is trying to find people that want to be part of building something from the ground up. I say it a lot. Jordan Burroughs is, hopefully after this weekend, maybe our greatest wrestler ever. And I guarantee, unfortunately, my wife, her family's in Nebraska, and they're Husker fans. It's like I ask anybody there who are the best athletes ever to come out of Nebraska, right? And unfortunately, his name isn't it's not high enough on that list, right? Where you can come here, win a national title, do really great things, and they'll build a statue for you. They really will. So it's finding that right type of person that fits into that mold that we're trying to build here.
You gave me chills when you said that, because I'm from Big Ten country. Happen to be from Columbus, Ohio, where there's a small campus called The Ohio State University that's a football school that happens to have a nice wrestling program as well. They're not building statues for any wrestlers around there. I want to see, a wrestling-centric program like this reach out to kids that are over in Big Ten country or over in over in the Ivies, and bring them out here so that they can feel like they aren't going to just be another number. Is that important to you?
It's very important, and I think when you talk about having that program where that this is the place, this is a wrestling school. It really is. This building we're standing in is Butler Hancock Athletic Center. John Hancock used to be the wrestling coach. Pete Butler was the baseball coach, right? So from way back in the 30s, this place, it's always been a wrestling school. We have a great endowment for wrestling. You see programs kind of on the fritz a little bit right now. We aren't going anywhere. We make money for the school. We're doing great. We've continued to grow that endowment. We're continuing to make those improvements. Again, it was all those types of things that attracted me to this place, and being able to try to build it into something. And again, we've been able to build our scholarships where we're finally fully funded. We had 5.5 scholarships when I first got here. Little things like that are finally starting to allow us to go get an Andrew Donahue from Ohio, right? And Steve O'Poulin from New York. It's coming, right? It's just like anything; it takes a little time.
Yep. All right. So you're building that. So what's the atmosphere like for, say, a duel around here?
It's good. Again, it's growing. We get about 1,500 fans right now for our duels. When I got here, it's 250. So we've come a little ways. But we have a great home duel atmosphere. We've got mat side seating. Fortunately, probably for us, maybe unfortunately for some visiting teams, we've got a great group that sits over by the visiting bench that they love to heckle those guys.
Nice.
Chris Pendleton tell me like, hey, those guys, man, they're wild. It's
Good.
just great to hear things like that, and obviously, they're respectful and whatnot, but just to get that type of love and camaraderie for the sport and here, and building something that people want to come to, something that they want to see. You know, they're looking forward to the next match. It's not just, hey, what are you doing on Friday night? Well, there's a wrestling match. Just go check it out, right? We want those people that want to be here and, you know, have that kind of cult-like following.
So you've got a young team. You obviously have some hammers. You got some returner going to go back to, you know, hopefully return. You got Boo, obviously, kind of the marquee guy from the program right now. How do you, as a head coach, how do you kind of coddle those freshmen that are coming in? I saw a lot of questions being asked tonight, more so than I see other places necessarily. Maybe other wrestlers like to sit on their hands too much, but there's no such thing as a stupid question in this room. How are you dealing with the youth of this program?
It's asking those questions from their side and getting them answered, right? I mean, we're big on communication here. I want every one of my athletes to be able to communicate with myself and my staff at a very high level. And if they can't, I can't read their minds. I don't always know what's going on. You know, sometimes I can look and see, and, you know, maybe somebody's got a boo-boo. I can see they got a little tape on their knee, right? Maybe they're just not healthy. But what I don't see all the time is how they just did on that test they took right before practice. You know, what happened on that phone call with mom and dad right before practice? You know, what was that conversation with their girlfriend right before practice? Those types of things. So we need to really know everything there is to know about these kids. And we encourage that high level of communication and dealing with, you know, the Andrew Aliras of the world versus the freshmen, right? We have 17 freshmen in this room right now. It's drastically different, but we train them at different levels, right? And everybody, you know, obviously we train as a team here. You know, we're big on culture, but we really, you know, all 40 guys that are in the room right now have an individual training plan. You know, I mean, there's a guy today that was off the mat. You know, there was tomorrow, there's a guy I'm taking off the mat. You know, he needs a little bit of rest. Other guys are getting extra individual workouts in. Everything is really individualized here, and I think that's what gets the most out of them at the end of the day.
So obviously as a coach, you've got big goals. I'm sure of it. Walk me through the steps, though, in your mind on what it's going to take to get you a team trophy. How do you start from here, and how do you get there? What's your immediate goals maybe this year?
Well, our immediate goal is obviously to get an All-American, right? Andrew Aliras came, you know, real close last year. He's had an excellent summer. He's going to be on the podium. I mean, barring anything crazy happening, he's going to be on the podium. It's just how high. He had an excellent summer of training. It's just taking that next step. Our team over these past 8 years has, every year I feel like, gotten a little better, right? And I think when we take that next big jump, I don't think it's going to be that continual gradual growth. I think, you know, we're going to go from, you know, having one All-American to 3 to 5. And it's going to be that drastic change. And I think we've got the talent in the room right now. Again, we're very young. We'll probably start 5 freshmen, maybe 6 this year. Okay. And I know we have a better team than we did last year. No disrespect to the kids that were before them, but I know they're just better. It's just how much better, right? And again, the talent's there. It's how are they going to handle a full college season grind? You know, how are they going to handle when they take that first L? Those types of things. How are they going to respond to how good are we going to be this year?
You got a great coaching staff. You really have put together a good coaching staff here. How much do you look to them for support? What's your role? Are you CEO role? Are you on the mat role? Are you hands-on? How do you look at yourself as a leader here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all encompassing, right? It's that more CEO type of leadership. You know, I really want to bring people in, and I have been able to bring people in that I know that I can trust and do a great job with, and they can kind of take the athletes and they can run with them. You know, obviously I've got that relationship with our kids. I think that's still very important, but I'm looking kind of more 30,000 feet, big picture stuff. You know, I wasn't at practice yesterday. I knew our guys had it taken care of. I wasn't worried about it. I was with some donors on the golf course. You know, I mean, that part is just as important as the athletes sometimes. And it's just what it takes, right? I mean, we want to build, you know, our own little posse around this entire program. We want to almost build our own little internal athletic department, right? And I think when you can develop more and more relationships like that, get more and more good people around, it's, I don't want to say it gets easier because it never gets easier. It's always more work, but it's definitely more enjoyable because you can kind of focus on your individual areas and do what you need to do.
All right, talk to the wrestling parents from Pennsylvania, from New York, from Michigan, from Ohio. Talk to them about, it's so far away to send your student athlete out here to Greeley, Colorado. What are they going to get from you and your coaching staff when they release their son out here?
Biggest thing I always tell parents is it's that relationship piece. You know, you're not sending your kid out here for 4 or 5 years. There's going to be no communication in the meantime, and we'll send them back, right? It's not that type of relationship. That's not how I am. I want to be more of a transformational coach in these kids' lives, right? It's the day they sign that national letter of intent. It's not 4 or 5 year commitment. It is the rest of their life commitment, or at least the rest of my life commitment, right? You know, I want to be involved with getting them that first job, making sure they're set up for life, right? One, making sure they're set up, but two, I want them to be the next big donor of this program.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so we're doing things like that. You know, I want to be invited to, you know, their wedding. I want to be invited, you know, get that card, you know, about their first child being born, those types of things. And I think that's all part of this process of building. And when we can develop more and more people that have that kind of cult-like following about Northern Colorado wrestling, it's gonna explode.
So I know the schedule hasn't been released yet. What from day one here, you know, me standing here at a practice, what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks here? What's the immediate schedule, so to speak?
Yeah,
here?
so I mean, right now we're getting in shape. We're doing a ton of conditioning, preseason conditioning. I mean, luckily we train at elevation, so we have a huge advantage being able to be in really as good a shape as we want to be, right? So we're going to really push hard, make sure we're in shape. And, you know, right now we're working on a lot of technique in the room. You saw that today. Another couple weeks, we'll start letting the kids kind of put their hands on each other a little bit more, because that's what they want to do. But I want to make sure that we do it in a smart way too, and we keep them healthy. So we'll get them in shape first and then kind of progress into the season. Once we're into season, honestly, it's management at that point. You know, again, there's multiple ways, you know, theories on how to train guys. When we get in season, we're worried about just keeping guys healthy, keeping them fresh, keeping them feeling good for each and every weekend, right? And again, we've done it the last couple of years. We've been able to stay healthy. I think we stay fresh. We wrestle at our highest level every time out there on the mat. Until that changes, we're not going to change things up.
So a guy like me that sitting on the couch, we always talk about, us fans always talk about peaking at the right time.
Right.
You're a Division I coach. How do you do that? What do you do to manage that? Is it so many moving pieces and it's different for each wrestler like you've mentioned? Or how do you get them to get, you know, peak it right before conference tournament and then obviously, you know, the big dance?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we do periodization throughout the entire year. You know, every 6 weeks or so, we're looking at, hey, here's a date on the calendar. We want to be feeling our best. And you really can't do any more than that, right? It's you're overtraining yourself at that point if you are. So it's just kind of trying to go backwards from the schedule, right? Looking at the national tournament, looking at Big 12s, going backwards and saying, hey, where can we really fit these peaks and valleys in? We're going to be at our best at the end of the year. Obviously, we want to win every time we step on the mat, but at the end of the day, it's about what happens in March, right? So that is the ultimate goal, right? I mean, if, you know, hey, I'd really like to win this duel, but I want to make sure he's ready for the end of the season. Well, we're going to do what's best for the kid, right? I think that's important to me. Again, obviously we want to win a lot of duels, but I want to make sure that we get guys on that podium. That's most important.
Switch gears a little bit on you. Let's talk about the NIL stuff. Mm-hmm. It was real big, and I'm not saying it's not anymore. In your world, I'm sure it still probably is, but from a fan perspective, it's big. And then it kind of seemed like it died down. And is it because we don't really hear of anything right now because the season's starting? How is this going to affect a program like you? Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? Do you just not know at this point?
It hasn't slowed down. I don't think it's going to. You know, I think you may see a little bit of fatigue, and I hate even saying supporters of the program, right? But that's really what a lot of that money is coming from. You know, whether they're doing a deal at the car dealership, that car dealer is probably an alum, right? That there's a little bit of give and take. But I don't think it's going to slow down at all. Our kids are actually doing fantastic with it. We're very fortunate to be the only public school in the state, Division I, which is a huge advantage. And then, like I said, Greeley just being kind of that blue-collar kind of wrestling town, our kids do fantastic with it. You know, they're doing very well on the outside. Again, we've got some big personalities, you know, with guys like Steve-O coming in. Andrew Alira is from here. Mm-hmm. Makes it really easy for him. Everybody in town knows who he is. So our kids are doing really well. Again, we want to, you know, I think it's a good thing. I think they deserve to be paid. Okay. You know, I think sometimes they got to figure out, hey, I actually have to do some things to make this happen. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think their hard work is paying off.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Coach. Thanks a lot for having me, man. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I love doing stuff like this. For you to have me out and give a little bit of word on the program. You have anything else before we say goodbye?
No, appreciate you coming out. You guys are welcome back anytime. So hope you enjoy the Colorado weather.
Awesome. Thank you.